Imagine you're standing in the dead center of a train track. You look to your left, and there's a massive, unstoppable freight train barreling toward you.
Right, a terrifying spot to be in.
So, exactly. And then you look to your right, and there is another freight train, just as massive, screaming down the exact same line. A head-on collision is literally seconds away.
Yeah, that doesn't end well for anyone.
No, it doesn't. No, zoom out. Replace those freight trains with entire universes, entire realities, just completely loaded with billions of lives, histories, ecosystems, all hurtling toward the exact same physical coordinates in the cosmos.
Well, the underlying physics of that scenario are just impossible to reconcile. I mean, two massive, infinite bodies can't occupy the same dimensional space at the same time.
Yeah.
The structural integrity of both realities would instantly shatter upon impact.
Right, it's just complete destruction.
Exactly. So either one universe is obliterated beforehand, or they both annihilate each other in the collision. There's just no middle ground.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is to map out a multiversal collision course. We're charting the massive, devastating narrative that makes up the first two acts of the highly anticipated Avengers Doomsday epic.
It's a huge story.
It really is. We're jumping straight into the heart of a narrative where realities are literally smashing into one another. It's an event known as an incursion. And we're doing this by looking at the choices, the mechanics, and the sheer desperation of the characters caught in the middle.
Yeah, and we have to approach this narrative not just as like a grand action sequence, but as a really profound exploration of consequences. At its core, this is a story about the devastating price of time tampering.
Oh, absolutely.
It forces us to examine this crushing, almost unimaginable burden placed on individuals who are tasked with saving existence itself. And, what happens to their morality when the math of survival demands horrific things.
Put yourself in that position for a moment. You are staring up at the sky, and you literally see another Earth, complete with its own continents and glowing cities, descending through the clouds toward yours.
It's a chilling image.
Right. Imagine the weight of knowing that to save your family, your world, your entire history, you have to push a button that vaporizes that other Earth. It's the ultimate, terrifying trolley problem, and that is exactly where the narrative throws us in.
The story opens in a reality that has been fundamentally destabilized at a structural level. The Fox X-Men universe.
Yeah.
And their position as ground zero for this crisis is a direct result of their own history.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because they aren't just unlucky here. I mean, think about the mechanics of time travel within that specific universe.
Right, they've done a lot of it.
Exactly. Every time someone went back to change the future, whether it was Wolverine reversing decades of history or, Cable sliding around to save a single life, they were basically punching microscopic holes in the fabric of their reality.
Over time, those timelines become like scar tissue.
Yeah, their universe became structurally weak, which makes it a cosmic magnet. When reality starts drifting, the incursions hit the weakest points first.
And we see Professor Xavier sitting in the X-Mansion, looking out the window, and he witnesses the nightmare scenario. An approaching world is literally slamming into his own atmosphere.
Just a wall of another planet coming at you?
Yeah, the gravitational shear alone would be catastrophic. The X-Men are immediately forced into that impossible choice we just outlined. I mean, let both universes collide and everyone dies, or commit genocide on a universal scale to save their own reality.
It's basically a cosmic game of musical chairs. The music has stopped, there's only one seat left, and claiming it requires you to blow up the rest of the room.
That's a great way to put it.
And the tragedy is amplified when you realize which universe is barreling toward them. The victim universe in this opening incursion is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe.
Wow. Yeah. What's fascinating here is the psychological toll this takes on the very concept of the hero. These are individuals, Professor X, Wolverine, Storm, whose entire ethos, their entire moral architecture is built on protecting life.
And they have to destroy an entire reality.
Exactly. The narrative violently strips that away in the first act. It establishes a remarkably dark, desperate tone from the very first frame. The luxury of morality is gone. They are reduced to apex predators fighting for a patch of remaining existence.
And during the chaotic destruction of that other reality, Deadpool is actually right there in the wreckage, just witnessing the horror of it all. The X-Men survive, but the psychological dam is broken. They cross the line.
They did what they had to do, but at what cost?
Exactly. And from that nightmare, the narrative pivots to explore how a completely different hero inadvertently started this entire cascading disaster. We jump to the mainline MCU, Universe 616, right in the aftermath of Endgame.
Right, so we are brought to a quiet, seemingly resolved moment, Tony Stark's funeral. But we are given access to a conversation that fundamentally alters the context of that ending.
Yeah, Steve Rogers is pulling Bucky, Thor, and Scott Lang aside. He's sharing a massive secret. He outlines his plan to go back in time to return the Infinity Stones to their proper places, but he drops a bombshell. He isn't coming back.
He intends to stay in the past.
Yeah.
The critical detail isn't just the plan itself, though. It's who he explicitly excludes from this circle of trust. He deliberately hides his intentions from Bruce Banner.
Because Bruce would shut it down immediately. Bruce understands the temporal mechanics. He knows that staying in the past isn't just a personal choice. It's an active disruption of quantum realities.
Bruce would argue the scientific and ethical dangers of creating a massive temporal anomaly. Steve knows this, so he makes a calculated choice to omit the truth. It is arguably Steve Rogers' first truly selfish and dishonest act.
Yeah, he prioritizes his own deep-seated desire for a normal life over the structural stability of the timeline.
He rationalizes it because of what he's about to endure. I mean, we don't just see him jumping to the quantum realm. We understand the mechanical nightmare of his mission.
It's insane. He has to return the time stone to the Ancient One, who might actually be one of Doom's witches in yellow robes in this telling. He has to break back into Asgard to drop off Mjolnir and the Reality Stone.
And infiltrate Hydra again to return the Mind Stone.
Right. He's carrying the raw elemental forces of the universe in a briefcase, dropping the Power Stone back on Morag.
The logistical complexity is staggering. But the emotional cost of returning the Soul Stone to Vormir is the true burden. That isn't just dropping an item in a locker.
No, not at all.
That is a cosmic transaction requiring him to confront the Red Skull, the Guardian of the Stone, and potentially the lingering spiritual echoes of those who died there, like Black Widow or Thanos.
After enduring all of that, the isolation, the cosmic bureaucracy, you can almost understand why he snaps. He returns the final stone, reunites with Peggy Carter, and claims his dance.
They get married, they have a child.
Yeah, he builds this beautiful, idyllic life. But the universe doesn't care about what you feel you are owed. Eventually, a visitor arrives at his front door.
Because the mechanics of the timeline demand balance. Loki arrives, but this isn't a physical visit. This is the Loki who sits on the throne at the end of time, holding the branching timelines together.
Right.
He's projecting an illusion of himself backward, through the temporal stream, across dimensional barriers, to speak to Steve directly.
And Loki delivers the harsh mathematical truth. He explains that by planting himself in the past, Steve has become a massive radioactive anomaly. His mere presence is forcing the timeline to branch in ways that are dangerously close to triggering an incursion.
Which is exactly what Loki's trying to prevent.
Exactly. Loki basically says, look, I admire your sacrifices. I am actively trying to give the multiverse free will, but your artificial happily ever after is literally breaking the fabric of reality.
So Loki offers a surgical solution. He gives Steve a TVA contact card and forcibly relocates Steve, Peggy, and their child to Universe 828.
That's the utopic Fantastic Four universe.
Yes, a reality with a different structural frequency where Steve's presence won't immediately trigger a collapse.
But I have to push back on Steve's initial choice for a second. Looking at the guy who always throws himself on the grenade, is staying in the past a betrayal of his character, or is it actually the most fundamentally human thing he has ever done?
That tension is the core tragedy of Steve Rogers. It is profoundly human. After a century of fighting everyone else's wars, of sacrificing his own autonomy, his own desires for the greater good, he finally claims a piece of happiness for himself.
Right, he earned it.
But the narrative asks a brutal, uncompromising question. Do beings who wield that much power ever truly get to retire? The universe operates on cold physics, not karma. His entirely understandable human desire for peace becomes the catalyst for the collapse of the multiverse.
And that desire for peace brings us into Universe 828. We jump forward about 4 years. Steve has been living quietly. He watches the Fantastic Four on television from his living room, seeing them defeat Galactus in the sky.
He's finally just a citizen watching the heroes work.
Yeah, but that isolation shatters when a cloaked mage walks into the Baxter building. Dr. Doom.
The introduction of Doom here relies on vital psychological backstory. When Sue Storm sees him, she doesn't raise the building's defensive shields. She lowers them. To her, this isn't a supervillain. It's Victor.
Right. They were incredibly close in college. The narrative establishes this intense, lingering love triangle dynamic between Victor, Sue, and Reed Richards. Sue remembers Victor as a brilliant, kind man.
She remembers the man he was.
Exactly. She tells the others that she knew he changed when he lost his family, but she had no idea he was, in her words, broken.
That word broken is the key to understanding Doom's operational methodology. Doom is a man entirely defined by his grief and a pervasive sense of perceived victimhood. He views himself as the wronged party in every cosmic equation.
So Doom approaches Reed under the guise of an alliance. He explains that incursions are destroying the multiverse and he wants to help stop them. He asks us to use Reed's advanced multiversal tracer technology to pinpoint an anomaly that is hiding on their planet.
And that anomaly is Steve.
Yep. Doom and the Fantastic Four use the tech, track the signal, and arrive at Steve Rogers' front door.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the interaction at Steve's house reveals the entire motivational engine driving Doom. When Doom looks at Steve's wife and child, he isn't just looking at bystanders. He is looking at an unearned reward.
Oh man, it's a chilling silent moment. Doom is just burning with envy.
Think about the contrast. Steve Rogers selfishly tampered with the very fabric of time, broke the fundamental rules of reality, and the universe seemingly rewarded him with the family he always wanted.
While Doom lost his.
Right. Victor Von Doom, in his own twisted perspective, has dedicated his life to mastering and saving reality, yet the universe stripped his wife and child away from him. Doom is positioning himself to the Fantastic Four as a benevolent savior, but internally he is driven by an overwhelming sense of cosmic injustice.
He's looking at Steve and thinking, why do you get to break the rules and play house while I play by the rules and lose everything? It's so petty but so dangerous. So Doom and Reed explain the impending incursions to Steve. They need him to act as an ambassador, to cross over to Universe 616 and convince his old friends to coordinate a multiversal defense.
And Steve agrees, leaving his family behind once again, and boards the Fantastic Four's dimensional rocket.
But while Doom is plotting in the shadows of 828, the physical symptoms of the disease are bursting into the open back in Universe 616.
The sky is literally tearing open. The visual signs of an incursion, a chaotic, bleeding space crisis in the atmosphere, are visible globally.
Yeah, and how do Earth's heroes respond to the imminent end of the world? With a press conference.
It is a striking commentary on institutional paralysis.
I mean, Sam Wilson is standing at a podium on live TV announcing his new official Avengers roster, Joaquin Torres, Scott Lang, and Shang-Chi. But instead of addressing the literal sky falling behind him, Sam uses the moment to score political points.
It's wild timing.
Truly. He publicly denounces Valentina Allegra de Fontaine's team, calling them a squad of mercenaries and assassins. He explicitly states that the Avengers cannot have killers in their ranks.
The sociopolitical timing is absurd, but the personal damage is even worse.
Because Bucky Barnes is watching that broadcast. Bucky hears his closest friend essentially say that people with blood on their ledger don't belong in the light. Bucky feels entirely alienated and isolated.
So the hero community in 616 is completely fracturing internally over public relations while the universe is actively dying.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in New Asgard, the threat isn't political at all. It is intensely biological. Thor is raising his adopted daughter, Love. To understand what happens next, we have to understand Love's physiology. She was resurrected by and now possesses the power of the cosmic entity Eternity.
Right, and Eternity isn't just a powerful god. Eternity is the physical embodiment of the universe itself.
Exactly. So because the 616 universe is structurally fraying, Love's own biology is breaking down. She is physically sick. And through her quantum connection to the cosmos, she grants Thor a terrifying, visceral vision of the impending multiversal collision.
Thor realizes the scale of the threat instantly. He abandons the political squabbling on Earth, flies into the upper atmosphere, and physically intercepts the Fantastic Four's rocket as it arrives in 616.
He breaches the hull, ready to fight whatever alien threat is inside, and he comes face to face with Steve Rogers.
The man he hasn't seen since Tony's funeral.
The man he explicitly warned that time travel was a one-way trip. Thor is absolutely dumbfounded.
It is a violent collision of Steve's past choices with Thor's present crisis.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Thor forces the rocket to land directly at Avengers Tower, right in the middle of Sam and Bucky aggressively arguing over their respective teams. Thor kicks the doors open and essentially yells, "Look at the sky."
It's a great moment.
It is like watching a world-class orchestra aggressively tuning their instruments and arguing over sheet music while the concert hall itself is actively engulfed in flames.
That's exactly what it's like. The sheer scale of the threat, delivered by Thor and Steve, finally forces the fractured heroes to the table. Reed Richards and Dr. Doom take the floor to pitch their grand solution.
They map out the crisis. Three specific realities, 616, 828, and the Fox X-Men universe, are caught in a gravitational death spiral.
And the solution they propose isn't a weapon. It is engineering on a multiversal scale.
Reed and Doom explain that they've designed massive quantum dampeners. If they can plant one of these gargantuan devices in each of the three universes and activate them at the exact same frequency, the machines will theoretically sever the quantum entanglement between the realities.
Right, it builds an impenetrable vibrational wall.
Isolating the universes from each other permanently, making the incursions mathematically impossible.
On paper, it sounds like the perfect, logical solution to the trolley problem we opened with. You don't have to choose which universe to obliterate. You just build a very big, very complex fence.
So the heroes divide into cross-universal strike teams to build these machines. In Universe 616, Sue Storm, Bucky, Ghost, U.S. Agent, and Shuri begin construction in Wakanda. And because the quantum dampener is the size of a skyscraper, Namor agrees to use his hydrokinetic abilities to part the ocean,
creating a massive dry trench on the seafloor so they can assemble the machine in secret.
It requires an incredibly fragile alliance. I mean, relying on leaders who historically despise each other, bound together purely by mutual survival.
Meanwhile, Reed, Yelena, Sam, Shang-Chi, Bob, and Dr. Doom travel to the X-Men universe.
Right, and after a brief chaotic skirmish with the X-Men, a classic misunderstanding, before they realize they share the same goal, Reed and Beast descend into the sub-basement laboratory of the X-Mansion to construct that reality's device.
The board is set.
Yep.
The pieces are perfectly in place across the multiverse, working in harmony, which is the exact moment Doom shatters the illusion.
Oh man, while the construction is underway, Steve Rogers pulls Thor aside. He shows Thor the TVA contact card Loki gave him years ago. They realize they need to consult the highest temporal authority before pulling the trigger on isolating realities.
That makes sense.
So they activate the card, step through a time door, and walk into an absolute slaughterhouse.
The Time Variance Authority is in ruins. The organization tasked with pruning timelines has been completely decimated.
Dead agents are scattered everywhere, and at the center of the carnage they find Loki. He is dead. But it's how he died that is so horrifying. His chest is torn open, and his heart has been physically ripped out.
Doom didn't just assassinate Loki. He used dark magic to carve out his heart, using the physical organ as a conduit to absorb Loki's immense temporal powers.
It's brutal.
The sheer brutality of the act completely recontextualizes everything Doom has done. He hasn't been trying to save the multiverse at all. He's been systematically conquering its defense mechanisms and absorbing its power sources.
And the second Steve and Thor realize they've been played, the trap springs across all three realities simultaneously. Down in the X-Men Universe lab, a component Doom, quietly sabotaged during construction, goes haywire.
A massive explosion completely obliterates the quantum dampener Reed and Beast were building,
just ripping a hole through the lobby of the X-Mansion. Thor and Steve arrive back from the TVA in that exact moment. Thor, consumed by rage over Loki's death, hurls Stormbreaker at Doom with full lethal intent.
a weapon forged to kill gods.
And Doom simply raises his hand and catches the blade of Stormbreaker with 2 fingers. He just stops the kinetic force of a dying star cold. He is pulsing with Loki's temporal energy.
Wow.
He effortlessly swats Thor away and unleashes an army of hidden sentinels to swarm the heroes. And at that exact same microsecond, back in Universe 616...
The second layer of the betrayal unfolds in the ocean.
Yes. Namor, who has been holding back millions of gallons of seawater to protect Shuri's device, suddenly closes his fists. He releases the water wall. The ocean violently crashes down, completely flooding the trench and utterly destroying the 616 quantum dampener.
Because Doom had already recognized the geopolitical friction and gotten to Namor long before the plan even started.
Right. Doom made a secret, whispered pact with the King of Talokan. He told Namor, the multiverse is dying and these machines won't stop it. But if you help me sabotage them, when I reshape the surviving fragments of reality into my new patchwork utopia planet I will call Battle World, I will guarantee that your oceans and your people have a prominent, safe place in it.
It is a textbook Machiavellian wedge. Doom preys on a leader's sworn duty to protect his own people, using it to guarantee the destruction of everyone else's.
But look at the sheer scale of this deception. Why go through this incredibly elaborate, exhausting theater? I mean, why pretend to be their friend, have Reed Richards design complex blueprints and organize these massive, multi-dimensional strike teams just to blow the machines up? If Doom already had Loki's godlike temporal power, why didn't he just teleport in and attack everyone outright?
This raises an important question about the nature of power versus strategy. You see, Doom is a mastermind, not a brawler. Even armed with Loki's power, fighting the combined might of the Avengers, the X-Men, Wakanda, and the Fantastic Four simultaneously in an open war is just an unnecessary statistical risk. Doom's true goal was resource depletion and misdirection.
He divided and conquered.
Precisely the strategy. By orchestrating this elaborate lie, he achieved three vital objectives. First, he kept the greatest minds in the multiverse entirely distracted by a fake engineering project while he hunted Loki. Second, he physically separated their heavy hitters across different realities, breaking their unified front. And third, and most importantly, he successfully manipulated the greatest threats, like Steve Rogers, Thor, and the Fantastic Four out of his own home universe, Universe 828.
Oh, yeah.
With them stuck fighting a Sentinel army in the X-Men universe or drowning at the bottom of the ocean in 616, Doom's home reality is completely unprotected. He is now free to orchestrate the end of the multiverse and build Battleworld completely unchallenged.
It is a masterstroke of betrayal that just leaves you breathless. And that is the catastrophic end to the second act of the narrative. Doom leaves the heroes drowning in the flooded ruins of 616 and fighting for their very survival in the burning rubble of the X-Mansion.
And Doom casually teleports back to his Latvian castle in Universe 828, fully powered up and ready to collapse reality.
The surviving heroes have absolutely no choice. The Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, they all have to somehow blind jump into Doom's universe to figure out how to stop a man who just became a god.
They haven't just been beaten physically, they have been utterly outplayed strategically.
So, what does this all mean? We started this deep dive by talking about a single, deeply personal choice. Steve Rogers, exhausted and wanting a normal life, decides to lie to his friends and stay in the past. It seems so small, so contained.
But the mechanics of time ensure that one dishonest act ripples out.
It draws Loki's attention. It forces Steve into Doom's universe. It stokes the fires of Doom's deep-seated jealousy. Every single piece of this multiversal collapse, the deaths, the betrayal, it all cascades downward from that one very human desire for a happy ending.
It forces us to confront an incredibly uncomfortable reality about power and survival. I mean, look at the state of this multiverse. You have heroes like the X-Men paralyzing themselves over the trolley problem, struggling to make the ruthless choices required to survive when realities collide.
Yeah.
You have the Avengers in 616 actively fracturing over public relations, morality, and optics, while the literal sky falls on their heads. They are fundamentally constrained by their ethics. They can't do what the math of survival demands.
Their morality has basically become an evolutionary disadvantage.
Exactly the point. So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. What if Dr. Doom's brutal betrayal, his murder of Loki, and his horrific plan to create an iron-fisted patchwork battle world isn't just standard villainous megalomania?
Okay, where are you going with this?
In a collapsing multiverse where the heroes are too busy arguing over ethics to actually save anything, what if a dictator's absolute, unwavering control is mathematically the only way to ensure that any remnant of existence survives the impact of those freight trains?
Wow. If democracy and consensus fail to stop the apocalypse, maybe a ruthless dictatorship is literally the only life raft left. That is a chilling thought to chew on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your eyes on the sky, and we'll see you next time.